wanted to update people on a situation we've been following closely, namely Intel. And we can tell you now, according to people familiar with the situation, that Intel CEO Bob Swan will be stepping down from that position effective February 15th. An announcement expected shortly. He will be replaced by Pat Gelsinger, the CEO of VMware, and a former, of course, Intel employee for many years, an engineer, and we would expect perhaps an appointment that will be well received by the market. I have called Intel and shared with them what I knew to be the case. They had no comment. I would anticipate, however, that you could expect, given they were planning on announcing this later today, is my understanding that they will be moving up that announcement. So we should get confirmation from Intel of this change that will be taking place again. February 15th is when Mr. Swan will be departing the company that he has run officially as its CEO since January of 19. But remember, he also was interim CEO of Intel for some 7 or 8 months after the unexpected departure due to breaking of company policy by Brian Krzanich. Mr. Swan has been under a great deal of pressure, as our viewers know, as shareholders know, of course. The company once considered, and now I'm reading from Dan Loeb's letter of a few weeks ago, the gold standard for innovative microprocessing manufacturing has lost its pole position to TSMC in Taiwan and Samsung in South Korea. That is, to a certain extent, true. Remember, they have been stuck at 14-nanometer chips since 2013. They missed a cycle. They've been trying to figure out what they're going to do in terms of their manufacturing, and Mr. Swan has come under a significant amount of pressure as a result. So perhaps not a big surprise of his coming departure. Gelsinger, as I pointed out, he led EMC's, of course, information infrastructure products business as its COO. VMware, remember, is in the process potentially being spun off, the 81% owned by Dell. So there is a transaction in the future of that company. But this gives him an opportunity to come back to a company that he once had a senior role in. He was the first chief technology officer of Intel from January of 2000 to 2005. He was also senior VP and GM of its digital enterprise group in 2009, after which he departed for Dell EMC and then, of course, VMware. So, Jim, you can see the market responding somewhat positively to this change again. Expected to have been announced later today. My expectation now is, given we're reporting it, that they'll probably move that up and confirm it. But we can tell you that it is the case. Mr. Gelsinger will be taking over February 15th for CEO Bob Swan.
Well, I've been openly critical of Bob for a long time, and he's the wrong man. CFO type. This is a company built by engineers. It's been terrible to watch what happened here. I mean, with the final comeuppance being that they may not even make chips. They've missed everything. Lisa Su at AMD has eaten the lunch. It's been just a very difficult time at Intel. Too long in coming. I had Bob Swan on literally the month that where they were doing the search. I think, David, that they were having a very hard time even finding a CEO, so they defaulted to Bob. I have said, and I did not mean to be facetious, nice guy. Stop smiling. A nice guy, wrong guy.
Right.
And Pat, I've known from VMware, excellent. I have Sanjay Poonen on. He's the COO. He's been my person who comes on from VMware. You're right. Spin-off probably in September, trying to get a hold of Michael Dell, trying to get a hold of anybody, because this is such a good scoop. But, David, I think we should point out that while it had to happen, and the stock was creeping up yesterday, it is still a shock because Intel has been ever since Andy Grove. I should say a little bit later, but the company basically has been rudderless.
Well, there are going to be no shortage of things that Mr. Gelsinger is going to be dealing with.
Yes.
Chief amongst them, of course, is figuring out manufacturing, Jim, how you get back in the lead, so to speak. To your point, he is an engineer, and it's an engineer-led culture. In the letter that we've referenced, of course, from Third Point that was sent to them December 29th to the company's chair, Omar Ishrak, they made the point, of course, of the loss of talent that they believe has been taking place at Intel. So how do you reverse that if, in fact, that is the case? But then there is also this overarching question as to national security concerns, whether there's a way to make this a national champion that will benefit Intel. And by the way, when it comes to Third Point, I don't have a lot to share here. It's my belief that they are going to be quite pleased at this appointment. They were not behind offering this name to to Intel. However, as you might imagine, they have, even though they did not ask for it in said letter, Mr. Loeb was hoping and expecting that Mr. Swan would depart, that the board would take actions to do so. The nominating deadline for directors is at the end of the week. It still remains unclear to me whether or not Mr. Loeb will nominate or not, or this will be enough perhaps to turn the tide there. But that's yet something else that they'll be dealing with potentially.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.